Hi, good morning. I'm so excited to be here with you in Dallas today. I know with the weather and everything that was happening, I'm so glad to finally be able to see such a great crowd come out. Before I get started, I have a very important question to ask all of you. So by applause, because I can't really see you all that well, but by applause, I kind of want to hear, who here saw that dress as white and gold? And what about the black and blue people? I have to be honest, this caused actual tension in my family yesterday. My mom was to my sister, she's like, "Why are you a liar?" My sister was like, "I swear it's white and gold." Anyway, it was a very bizarre day on the internet. So today I want to talk to you actually about the digital culture of cities as a part of the innovative city. In his book, Triumph of the City, Edward Glaeser, who is a Harvard economist, declared that the city is one of humanity's greatest inventions. The reason being is that living in closer proximity to each other has allowed us to meet and to exchange ideas and to collaborate in ways that just weren't possible when we lived in a broader rural setting. And historically speaking, cities have managed to make us richer, smarter, healthier, and happier. Now, as the internet started to come in and connect people globally, cities have actually taken some very interesting steps into the digital space as well. And what I do, I'm a digital foresight strategist, which is just a really fancy way of saying I get to spend hours on the internet as my job. What I do is I take a look at some of these trends and I try to understand how is technology, how is social media, how is digital culture, how are all of those things changing the way that we interact with our city as citizens, as business owners, as regular people. And my big idea that I want you guys to think about today is that I really believe, based on everything that I have seen happening online in cities across the world, and I'll share some examples with you here today, I truly believe that a city's digital culture is going to be essential for cities that want to improve their tourism, that want to attract the best and the brightest talent, and that, most importantly, want to create a high-level quality of life for their citizens. So what do I mean when I say digital culture? Well, if you consider the internet as being sort of an exchange of information that's received and sent, a city's digital culture is really the footprints. It's all the different ways that people share information with the city and with each other. So when you think about this ecosystem, there's generally three broad categories that make up a city's digital culture. The first is, how does that city share information with its citizens? The second is, how do citizens share information with the city? And the third is, how do citizens share information with each other? When you put all of those things together, the cities that manage to operate and have strong presence in all of these categories have very healthy and vibrant digital cultures. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples today and talk about why some of these things make for a better city life for everyone. So the first one is, how are people sharing, or how is the city sharing information with people? So in Chicago, and I'm sorry it's a bit stretched, there is a program called Internet Essentials. Now, the city of Chicago has made it a priority to close the digital divide, meaning they wanted to make sure that low-income neighborhoods had affordable access to internet. If you're eligible for this program, for just $9.95 a month, you get high-speed internet at home, you get resources that teaches you how to use the internet, and you even get access to deeply discounted computers so that your family can get online and that people from across all cities, across all walks of life, can have access to the internet. In Winston-Salem, they recently just won an award for their live crime mapping application. And this is actually pretty cool. So it's a continuously updated database that shows you exactly what the offense was, the address, the time, if somebody was arrested, and you can even download a PDF of the crime report directly. What's more interesting is that all of this information is plotted onto a map right there so that you can get a sense of exactly what's happening in your city. Now, as you can imagine, this type of information is extremely important, for example, if you are a business owner and you're looking for another location to open up your business, if you have a shop or something, if you're a family looking to move into a new neighborhood, if you're a tourist and you're trying to figure out where exactly you should pick your hotel, you maybe want to avoid the neighborhood that had like 16 shootings in the last 2 weeks. So ultimately, what this does is this allows citizens to get a good idea of exactly what's happening in their city in a way that's visual and easy for them to understand. Barcelona has recently invested millions of dollars in building what they're calling the Elderly Trust Network. So the city of Barcelona actually has a very high percentage of citizens that are over the age of 65. It's estimated that 1 in 5 citizens or residents is over the age of 65. That number is going to go up to 1 in 4. And one of the things that they have realized that's a big problem with having a large elderly population is social isolation. A lot of these elderly residents are kind of stay home and they don't really have access, they don't engage with other members of the community. So through the Elderly Trust Network, they're creating a social and digital platform that's going to connect friends, family members, volunteers, caregivers, social workers, caseworkers, and connect them all together online so that they can exchange information about the resident, so that they can help to spot gaps in care, they can coordinate services, and they can just always make sure that somebody's reaching out, that that person is not forgotten, and that that person feels integrated as a part of the community. And they think that by doing that, they will improve the quality of life for their elderly residents. Tel Aviv is a super innovative city, and they've actually introduced a members program, a residence card, called the Digital card. Now, what's so cool about this card is you actually, get a physical card in addition to the app. But what you do is you go in to register for it, you give the city some information about yourself, and then the city, through this app, gives you personalized recommendations to help make your life easier. So for example, if you're a family with young children, you'll get automatic notifications about the days of registration for kindergarten. If you're a commuter and you tell them your route, you will get notifications if there is weather or road closures or construction or an accident. If you're a young person and you're really interested in music, it will give you updates and coupons to go to local music events. It really understands that as a city, people have different priorities and people have different interests, and this way they're able to improve their citizens' daily quality of life by really understanding what it is that drives them and what it is that they need from the city to live happier lives. It's like so ironic that the innovative city person is the one having trouble with the PowerPoint presentation. It's like amazing. There you go. So in terms of trends, innovative cities, as I'm pressing this button, there you go. Well, it's like, where am I supposed to point? You. There we go. Oh, you. Okay. You are my new person. All right, so innovative cities are ones that I am going to be looking at you the entire time. Innovative cities are ones that recognize and focus on access. They understand that to have vibrant digital cultures, you need infrastructure, you need citywide free Wi-Fi, you need fiber optic cables, you need good plans to make sure that everyone can access the internet. They also have an emphasis on transparency. Whether it's crime data or traffic data, they understand that citizens need information to be able to make the best informed decisions possible, and that's really quite helpful. There's a facilitation of community. They understand that this is about bringing people together, whether it's elderly people or whether it's low-income people. They understand that everyone needs a chance to connect to each other. And ultimately, they also have personalized services. As our cities continue to grow, our priorities will continue to change. And so that means that the cities that are going to succeed and thrive in this bigger city environment are going to be the ones that can personalize those recommendations and reach out to citizens. The second aspect is, how are citizens talking back to the city? How can citizens give information back? And traditionally, this was where you would write a letter to your representative or make a phone call. And luckily, we've come very far from that. The city of Boston started this app called Street Bumps. I'll point right at you. Yes, you are lucky. And what Street Bumps is, it's an app that you open up on your smartphone and while you're driving. And if you're driving along and you hit a pothole, the app will record that and will send it to the city to let them know. All right, clearly hit a nerve with Dallas drivers. So, Mr. Mayor, I think you should call Boston and get them to share this app with you. Ultimately, what it does is it communicates to the city all of this information so that the city can prioritize what streets and what neighborhoods need the most access. And what I love about this is that you don't have to phone in and be on hold. Your app and your phone just simply collects that information for you. In Nairobi, this is super cool. They're using Minecraft servers. So Minecraft servers is a video game where you can build virtual cities, and they're actually using it in their urban planning system. So what that means is that when there is a park or a playground that needs to be built, residents can come in and they can actually use the virtual reality to show what they want that park to look like. And that information is then shared with urban planners who are able to take in what the residents want and create something that's really quite meaningful. And this playground has just finished construction right now at the top corner, which is so great. And what I love about this is that it connects the professionals, the people who have a mandate to build something, with the residents and the regular day-to-day people who are going to be touching that space, who are going to be using that space the most. So ultimately, it makes sure that you create a space that is created both by the citizens and the residents and by the professional architects, which really just increases the usage of that space. There we go. In Rio, in association with UNICEF, a couple of local organizations have been empowering young people to go into the favelas. And favelas, for those of you that don't know, are Rio slums. They're kind of like shanty towns that host over 11.4 million people that live in extreme poverty. And through this project, they've given young people cameras and smartphones. And so the project is in two phases. The first is young people, they take their cameras, they put them in plastic bottles, tie them to kites, send the kites up into the air, and take aerial shots of the favelas. The second step is that they go in and they tag with their phones, they take pictures of areas that need immediate attention. So thanks to this project, the government knows where the most urgent needs are. So for example, there were a couple of piles, this is the sanitation page, there was a couple of piles where people had tagged open piles of garbage. That's a breeding ground for mosquitoes that increases the spread of dengue fever. So what's happening now is the government knows where those piles are. They go in and they replace them with bins and with recycling bins and garbage bins. There were very steep steps that were quite unsafe that now have railings. There was a daycare who was built on a very precarious ledge that now has a reinforced balcony. So for governments who have to deal with 11.4 million people living in these crazily crowded conditions, this is a great way that empowers young people to take accountability for improving the quality of life in their communities, and B, it helps the government understand how to make these small improvements that have a big impact on the quality of life for their citizens. Uh-oh, you're going to lose your job soon. All right, so ultimately, innovative cities focus on ease of use. As I mentioned earlier, you don't want to have to phone somebody and be on hold and change departments or write an email. If there's an app that just collects that data for you, if there is a way that I can just snap a picture or send a tweet or do something like that, it's going to improve participation. Honestly, I have half a mind to just throw this thing aside and just wing it the rest of the time. It creates new methods to participate. So like I said before, it increases people's likelihood of engaging with them. People don't just want to be on the phone. The other thing, too, is that it recognizes emerging voices. I mean, this is super important. Sometimes the people that are speaking to your community or that are recognizing or living a certain type of life in your city aren't going to be the most recognized or the most visible. So there are bloggers out there, there are artists, there are writers, there are YouTube stars, there are, Instagram stars and Vine stars that are in your city right now that are sharing their vision. And innovative cities can recognize how they can pull that information from them to include it so that everyone is participating. And finally, there's an openness about city issues. A lot of cities tend to want to sweep aside some of the major issues, whether it's trash or homelessness or traffic or whatnot, and actually facing those issues head on and saying, look, we recognize that there is a problem here. Generally, that's what leads to these small baby steps that once you do enough of them, it ends up actually improving the quality of life. I mean, some people, when this project of the favelas started, was saying, well, their favelas are so big, what's one little project going to do? But recently, they've been following up, and it's been improving the lives of clusters of 50, 100, 200, 500 people. So it doesn't have to be something that's going to fix everything in one fell swoop, right? It can be something that makes these small increments that eventually snowball into a real and positive change. The last section is how citizens are talking to each other. And this is one of my favorite sections because it really shows how our city life and our life as citizens are being impacted by technology. In San Francisco, there is a cool platform called Variable. And what it does is that when you travel to another city, you can meet up with a local who can give you an insider perspective of that city. So for example, in Dallas, there we go. In Dallas, I could go for a hike, I can go thrift shopping with Brenda W. I can pretty much meet up with locals and have a really cool experience. And I love this platform. I actually use it in my own city. I live in Paris, and I actually go out and get neighborhood tours of neighborhoods that I'm not familiar with. I just love the idea that thanks to technology, I could land in a city where I don't know a single person and still get connected to someone, get connected to a local who's going to show me the city through their eyes. These types of experiences help increase tourism, it helps create positive memories for people, and ultimately creates connections and friendships. In Adelaide, which is in Australia, they've created a website called Ripe Near Me. And what that does is that it actually helps people who have backyard gardens with excess vegetables sell that excess produce to their neighbors. So if you've got a tomato garden, you've got more tomatoes than you know what to do with, you put yourself up on there, you put the price, and maybe somebody 2 doors down, 2 blocks down, 2 counties over will want to drive over and get some of those tomatoes and get some ultra-local food. What I love about this as well is that it creates connections between communities. I mean, how many of us don't know our neighbors? How many of us don't know the people who live in the immediate vicinity around us? What a great way to be able to connect over a desire or shared interest of food. In Rome, this is my favorite one, you guys, because I have a dog and I'm like super obsessed with her, and she has her own Instagram account. And so when I found this, I was Pixel the Prancer, in case anyone's interested. It's this site called Dogalizer, and it's like a Foursquare for dog owners. It basically connects you to other dog owners in the city, and vets, and dog-friendly restaurants, and dog-friendly cafes, and dog-friendly parks. And so if you go to Rome, you basically have your entire trip completely mapped out, and you can bring your little friend along, which I just completely adored. And what I love about this app is that as a dog owner, I'm a very specific segment of the population, so meeting other people that are just like me, who have the same interests as me, that's going to increase my quality of life in my city, and it's also going to increase the quality of my experience as a tourist. So a couple of trends is that innovative cities have to support these citizen initiatives. I'm seeing a lot of cities that are having hackathons and things like that. It's super important for city governments to recognize that a lot of this change and a lot of these amazing ideas are coming from you, and to make sure that there are spaces and benefits and resources so people that have good ideas can implement them. It also creates new ways to experience the city. There are apps with the best coffee shops, apps for the best craft brews. This is good for the economy. The easier you make it for a tourist or for a citizen to connect with a local business, the more vibrant the local economy is going to be. Nope. Oh, there we go. It also recognizes the voice of the individual. We have, like I mentioned before, there are bloggers that have huge followings, and these people are representing you. They are the ambassadors of your city. So recognize them, reach out to them, engage them, try to understand what's important to them and how they can benefit and how they can help you make a better vision for your city as well. And ultimately, focus on real-life benefits. As I mentioned earlier with a Harvard economist, ultimately, all of these technologies, the reason why they're so powerful is because they're helping us do something very basic, which is connect to each other, meet with each other, share ideas, and collaborate. And that is what makes cities so great, and that is what makes communities so strong. So I have a couple of last kind of thoughts for you somewhere in this deck. Thank you guys for being so patient with me. The first one is, no, there we go. Oh, now it's you. It's shifted. Is that prioritization of digital culture is going to be essential. So in New York was the first city that had a chief digital officer for its city. Why can't Dallas be the first city that has a chief officer of digital culture? It's the governments that recognize that digital culture and digital trends are becoming such an important part of city life that they need their own resources, their own teams, and their own mandates. The second thing is that engagement is key. So understanding what's the easiest way for people to reach out and to tell you what they want. Most people want to make their neighborhoods a better place. Most people want to make their cities a better place. You have to just make it really easy to do that. When I used to live in Toronto, there was this giant pothole that was like on my street, and every time I tried to call, I would get transferred from department to department to department, and after doing this 3 times, I just stopped. And that pothole, I bet you, is still there because it was too difficult to actually get anybody to do something about it. So making it very easy for people to share the information to improve their cities is going to make everyone's lives better. And finally, and this is a message not for cities, but for the citizens of cities, this is a message of empowerment. If you see an opportunity, whether it's an Airbnb for cats or, a new blog idea or a new app idea, if there's something about the city that you feel isn't quite right, we no longer have any excuse not to go out there and build something and try to do something. Every single person sitting in front of me here today is empowered and has the tools and the platforms to be able to get out there and have a voice and make a difference. Ultimately, we are living in an age where we as citizens are super empowered to take action and to make our neighborhoods and our cities safer and healthier and happier. And I'm going to leave you with just one final quote from my favorite anthropologist who says, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world, because indeed it's the only thing that ever has." Thank you very much.